welcome to week 11 of Insane Productivity with Mortgage Coach. As the two leaders of today's call, you've got myself, Dave Savage, and Todd Bookspan. Todd, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see so many familiar faces and a couple new faces on the call today.
Yeah, so no doubt. I put a video prior to the call yesterday because I was just reflecting on this experience that we've been through, and just super grateful for all the folks that have joined us on this journey. I know I've got a lot of value going through Darren's content and going through this program from Darren, and I've gotten a tremendous amount of value from everybody on this call, so it's really been fun. So when we first started this mastermind and creating this Facebook group, that was not part of the product. We were rolling out Darren's product. It's his product. I did invite Todd Bookspan, Dave Gallegos, Jen Duplessis, a few other folks, Kristen Messerly, Cindy Ertman, to create content that was mortgage industry specific to add value to that. But I would really say that it was almost like an afterthought. This mastermind was just like, I'll learn. It'll be good for me. Let's just throw this in. And so originally it was just 4 weeks. Todd and I signed on to do this for 4 weeks. I mean, when 4 weeks came, we were just like, gosh, we're getting tons of value out of this. And based off the feedback of you folks on the call, we feel like, we're given lots of value. Just putting this group of people together, the collaboration that's taking place, the leadership that's happening, we're like, this is awesome. Let's keep it going. And we basically signed on for 12 weeks. So we're at week 11. Potentially we were a week away from the last time that Todd and I do this, although when him and I did a gut check prior to the call, we're both feeling like, hey, if there's a bunch of folks that still want to go through this program, still want to meet up Fridays at 9 o'clock, it's something that Todd and I feel compelled to keep doing. So, the way we know if you want us to keep doing it, it's the feedback that we get. It's when we ask you to raise your hand, share a success story, ask a question. That's how we know that there's value being exchanged. I posted, everybody can see sharing my desktop, and I said, what's been the most valuable thing you've gained so far going through this program? When I see what Michelle said and Tara said, Bliss just jumped in, to me that's, okay, we got to keep going. So please let us know if you want us to keep going. Potentially next week is the last week. But Todd and I are not opposed to continuing this program. Todd, is there anything else you want to speak to as it pertains to just should we end it? Should we keep going?
No, I love seeing some people make a note in the questions bar that they want to see it keep going. So that's great. And I just agree with what you said, Dave. I mean, if we got people who want to be here and we get a good group so we can have a good dialogue, then I'm totally open for the idea of doing more. Bring it on.
All right, so I also, while we've talked a few times about this Mortgage Coach Why worksheet, this is something that our team created. We really felt that of all the concepts that we're learning, this is a cornerstone concept that every mortgage professional should be super clear on their values, should be super clear on why are they a mortgage professional, and for anyone that believes in Mortgage Coach, why are you on the Mortgage Coach team, and what's that all about? So we've turned this into something that's beautiful, it's well organized. We have created both a printable version, so if you're going to hand this out at a meeting or work with your team on it, you can download a high-res, it's like a 32 meg file that prints up super nice. And if it's something you just want to email to your team and you want to reference as an online tool, we got a 2 megabyte, easy to email, easy to share version. So those can both be downloaded in the GoToMeeting control panel. They will also be part of our training kit, as we do branch trainings and as we help lenders become great at delivering Mortgage Coach conversations. This is a new tool. If you do have any feedback, we're continuing to evolve this. So, we still can make some edits. If you have ideas or suggestions to make it better, let us know. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Todd, and since you, really led last week's call at my absence, I was at Sales Mastery, why don't you kick off the call and drive the conversation, and I'll jump in and out.
All right, perfect. So I didn't pre-script this, so before I open it up to get feedback. So again, the whole goal is going to be to have you guys raise your hand or speak up, and when Marcy starts to unmute everybody. But certainly would love a few success stories and a few ideas of what you all would like to talk about today. but I did pre-script it and pre-approve it, so I'm hoping that Bliss will be okay if I call on her. I would just love to get some feedback, and hopefully there'll be some value for all of us in learning what she learned at Insane Productivity Live. So a couple Fridays ago, Darren did a 2-day event out in San Diego. We had a couple of members who were there. I actually spoke to one offline this week, but I would love, Bliss, if you don't mind jumping in and giving us a little bit of what you learned there to help the group get going this morning.
Sure, absolutely. So crazy thing is, I just jumped into this, like, into the deep end. Couldn't swim. You know, I had purchased Insane Productivity, and then I don't know if any of you guys know Rhonda Johnson. She's an originator out in the Kenai Peninsula in Alaska. She was heading to Insane Productivity, and I'd gone up there. We were fishing one day, and she's like, "You should come with me." And I'm like, "Well, I kind of jumped in the deep end. I probably should." And so I went to that, and you hear things differently when it's live. It is a lot of the same information, but you absorb it differently, I guess I would say. And I just came away with a lot of ideas on how to implement things, and probably the thing that stuck with me the most was figuring out my vital function. So I thought I'd share that since we're kind of all in the mortgage business, and it's pretty basic, but my 3 vital functions are marketing, so networking and marketing combined. It is pre-qualifications and taking loan applications. So in defining that, I realized that I need to be able to step back and away from all of the tasks that happen once my files go to my processor until the point of closing. So the system I've set up with my production manager, my assistant that I just recently hired, and my processor is that our goal is that I have less than 10% involvement during that time frame. But every Thursday, we do a team meeting, and we go through our files in process, and I email, text, or call, depending on how I think the person wants to receive the information, just a warm fuzzy. So they know I touched the file. Hey, wanted to let you know we're still waiting for the appraisal, or everything looks great, your file should be going to underwriting in the next day or 2. Whatever it might be, it's 1 or 2 sentences. Because the problem I see with most people that hire an assistant is they step too far away from the transaction, and then the clients they feel like they've just been dropped into a black hole. And for whatever reason they chose you as their lender, you're now not part of the transaction, and they don't like that. So I wanted to make sure I always had that, and it's really going very well, so that I'm looking at my task list, and I'm using the weekly planning sheet of the 3 big goals and the miscellaneous. Have we gotten to that yet in the modules yet, Todd?
Some people haven't. Some people haven't. Some people haven't.
So it's great, and I actually took it and tweaked it and added in 10 boxes for each day of the week to check off my outbound unsolicited phone calls. And so I'm really utilizing that to make sure that I'm focused on my vital functions. Now, I still have to make dentist appointments, and I still have to take care of crisis, and I still have to do things that are not in my vital functions, but the goal is that's less than 20% of my time, and 80% of my time is spent on vital functions. And so, yeah, I loved it. It was really good to help me narrow down, because it felt overwhelming for a while, how much information there was. It helped me narrow down, these are my takeaways and what I'm absolutely going to implement and go in 100%. Is that kind of what you were looking for, Todd?
Love it. No, that is perfect. I think that's a great topic. Dave and I were actually talking about vital functions ahead of the call today, so I'm gonna leave that up there as one of our discussion topics. So I think you did an awesome job of launching into that, and I think that's great. So if any of you on the call have questions for Bliss as well around that, as we open up the lines, feel free to jump in and ask. But just know I'll make sure that after we do a quick survey of the crew for some success stories and some other topics for the call, that we will circle back to that vital few. So that is great. I'm jealous and glad you had a great time.
Yeah,
I see Bobby Moody's.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just going to mention, I don't know if you want to talk about this or not, Todd, but vital metrics and tracking things. So if you want to circle back around to that later, or we can leave it for another call, whatever you'd like to do.
All right, I'll put that on the list as well. Thank you. Perfect. All right, see, Bobby Booty's got her hand up, so I'm going to unmute you, Bobby, and hopefully we can hear you now. Jump on in. Bobby, are you there?
I don't know how to work this. Can you hear me now?
There we go. We can hear you now. How are you this morning?
Good, you guys.
So we got an echo from you, so you may be logged in twice. I know I don't see you logged in twice, but let's just see if the echo goes away.
I just wanted to thank you for keeping this going, because I'm behind on the modules. I got started in a little bit late, and I had a few crazy weeks, and so that was all I put my hand up for. Is I appreciate that.
Well, we love hearing that. How about any successes so far? What's the biggest change you've made?
Getting a little more scheduled. I mean, being a little more consistent and doing prospecting and on time, and just having my life more structured. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense.
Yeah. So, thank you.
And how about any topic for discussion today that you would love to hear about in addition to the vital few and vital metrics?
You know, I'm so far behind, Todd, that I don't really think that I could really bring up a topic of question at this point.
All right. Well, thank you for thanking us, and appreciate that you're along for the ride.
Thank you.
All right. Who's next? Who else has a success story and topic of conversation they would like to hear today? I'm prepared for that slight awkward silence. All right, now I see a bunch of hands up. That is awesome. All right, let's start with you, Chris McWilliams. I'm unmuting you. All right. How are you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're a little echoey, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, thanks for liking the post there yesterday. I appreciate the feedback in the group there. So, also another big takeaway so far, I'm behind a couple of weeks. I think I started a little later than the beginning group, and I appreciate you guys, continue to get that going forward. My biggest takeaway is a small thing that's kind of led to some big success so far. I took off all notifications on my phone. You know, one of the first modules there, where you don't get the bubbles anymore on my iPhone. Being OCD on that, like probably most of us are in sales. I stopped checking that as what led to some good gains in productivity. I think the biggest things for me will still be coming. I'm still digesting a lot of the modules, and then as you go kind of through the week or you re-listen to them, as Darren mentioned.
No, I think that's the key, right? I think the repetition is key with this, and I think every time you listen, you'll hear something differently, even just like Bliss said of hearing it live. So great question. We'll definitely continue to open it up for more. I think that your audio was a little rough there, so I'm getting a few comments from people, so I'm going to remute you, Chris.
Well, actually, hey, let me jump in. Dave Savage. So, Chris, I actually had to mute you because it was super hard to hear you. Something was going on with your mic. Either you had two mics going. So sorry about that, Chris. Feel free to post your comment and question, and we'll try to bring it back in. If you do think you've made an adjustment in your mic to where we could unmute you and bring you back in, let us know, and we'd be happy to do that. I'll throw it back to you, Todd. And I know Mark Thompson just jumped in too, so I don't know if we want to hear from Mark at this point.
I just unmuted you, Mark. Go ahead. How are you doing today, Mark?
Hey, doing great. Good morning and happy Friday. I've officially caught up this week, and which took me a while to get here. So in Module 5, I was kind of struggling with this, and I would love to chat about it, other people's suggestions and what they're doing, and what it was is it's my definition of success. And it was really an enlightening exercise, and I've kind of taken a look at it a few times. I keep going back to what my why is, but I would love to, as a topic today, if we could bring that up and maybe people could feel comfortable enough to share that. I'd find that very enlightening.
Love it, absolutely. We will definitely put that on the list. Any other successes this week other than the biggest success, which is catching back up?
Catching back up is great. Time blocking is just, you know, I put a big, audacious, hairy, ugly goal in front of me to really time block this week. And I'd have to say I was probably, I'm embarrassed to say, realistically, probably about 50–60% successful. It's definitely challenging for me to have those time blocks, but I'm definitely working on it. When I do that, I was successful in doing, you know, at least 3 60-minute power hours, which were phenomenal. I'm just still working to implement that and to not be a firefighter.
Love it. I think congratulations on getting in 3 hours. I think that's ironically puts you infinitely ahead of most of the mortgage industry. So don't, although maybe 50% of your goal, you know, keep your head down. That's a huge thing. So love it. I'm going to unmute Nicole Francis here in a moment. I think you might need to have an audio pin. Yours is #7. If you hit #72, Nicole, that'll let you. And so while you do that, I'm going to Troy Root. Your hand was up. I saw you put it down, but I'm going to unmute you anyway and call you out. How you doing, Troy?
I knew you'd call me out, so that's why I wrote. I know you better than that by now. Hey, no, seriously, this week I know I put on the we had the challenge for the jam sessions, and I got myself doing a couple days this week, actually 2 jam sessions, and boy, I mean, just like Mark said, they are powerful. It's like you get an hour, you can get 2–3 hours work done when you're just solely focused on one single item. And it's just
what was the biggest thing that you did to make sure you were successful for that time frame?
Truthfully, what I did was I always shut my door, but I actually turned off my Outlook. I turned off my phone. I actually turned off more of my gadgets, for lack of a better way of putting it, and just helped. And
you went in airplane mode.
Exactly.
Love it.
But I'll piggyback on Bliss. Is like the vital functions. I went back a little bit myself, back to starting the vital functions again, because I slid a lot in regards to the multitasking and stuff, and so I'm really looking forward to see people's thoughts and stuff on the vital functions, vital priorities, and vital metrics, because I really had trouble with that session even back when I did
Perfect.
it.
All right, well, we will get there shortly. I'm going to get one last opinion from Nicole, since I think she's unmuted now and we can hear you, and then we'll start jumping in on these topics. How are you, Nicole?
Are you able to?
Nicole, are you? There we are. How you doing?
Oh, good. I'm nervous because I was echoey before. So is this clear?
You are clear today.
Okay, yay. So I successfully completed my jam sessions, and it was interesting because, you know, of course you want to stay out of your email, but one of the projects that I was working on was I had to go into my email, and so it's really just noticing how the attention span is wandering, and it's very difficult to actually stay focused for that amount of time, but it was extremely productive. And definitely happy that I'm engaged in doing that. But a couple of things that stuck out for me, and I just would love to hear from other people as to what they do. You know, I think one of the things that Darren said is, you know, how many people go into the office without a plan. And I know we're talking about jam sessions and 80% of the activity spent on vital functions versus 20. And so I would just like to hear, like, truly how many people's days are very strictly planned out and timed blocked, or what are other people doing? Because I feel like, you know, I'm just like everybody else, and that is the biggest challenge for me. So I would love to hear about that.
I think that's great, because I do think that, you know, again, as originators, that is the number one challenge is to own your day as opposed to letting it own you. And so I think we've got some great folks on this call, so I know we can get some great conversation around that. So appreciate you overcoming your nerves and jumping in again today. It sounded great, and we will definitely circle on that. I got Scott Morse, you've got your hand up. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, so you should be able to hear us. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing great today. How are you all doing?
Doing good. Doing good. What's going on?
So I have a good answer for you for Nicole just asked what I do. I've been in this business over 20 years, and I really live and die by a Franklin planner that they put on my desk. And what I do is I prioritize the tasks for the next day, whether it's calling prospects or it's locking in loans that aren't locked in yet, or putting on the appointment schedule, a time block to prospect. And I prepare that from the end of today. I will do that for Monday. Say what do I need to do on Monday morning just to get my day started, be focused, and get on it and complete the tasks that are right in front of me. In addition to, calling out updates like the other gal mentioned, where she calls on Thursday just to let her clients know she's in touch and touching the file. And every time you touch a client, it gives you another opportunity to say, hey, you have any friends or family or coworkers that I could help? Rates are still really low, and so on and so forth. So that's something that really helps me stay focused. I love these. I haven't done one of these courses for maybe 15 years or so, and this has been a wonderful. I look forward to this call every week, hearing what people are doing, and the modules have helped me really realize, hey, wow, it's giving me more confidence that I'm doing the right thing and the right things in terms of my marketing. This has really helped me tighten up my marketing message. It's helped me tighten up why I'm in this business and what I do, and it carries into all parts of my life, whether I'm as at a fundraiser for my kids' high school and a golf tournament on Monday, and I play with three veterans. So I got to talk to them about VA loans and their buddies, and maybe get some streamlined refinances out of it. I'm here to help. I feel like I'm here to help people improve their lives. I wake up every day saying, okay, whose life can I impact today in a positive way? And this has really helped me to clarify that message, and not be afraid to tell people that. And when you put that energy out there, I think it comes back to you.
So I like it. So you're old school. You got that Franklin planner sitting on your desk. Do you lug that thing around with you too, or is that just something you leave there so that when you come in, that's your roadmap for the day ahead of you?
I leave it on my desk, and when I come in the morning, it's there, and that's my roadmap for the day. It's
I didn't want to scare people, who actually use a computer for that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I try to get to the computer thing, and I'm like, it just doesn't, it sort of doesn't translate for me. It doesn't feel good or efficient or comfortable. And I do a lot of, I put a lot of things that, like Darren mentioned, I calendar tons of things in my Outlook calendar as well. So like for next week or like for Thursday, I'll calendar things. But for my daily things, I will use that Franklin planner and make sure that I'm looking at, okay, and I check them off every day. And I've got years, I still have them all from years and years. I can go back and find a note from somebody, if I'm talking to somebody on the phone about a loan or trying to qualify them, and I'm not ready to get on my computer, I'll make some notes so I have them. So when I talk to them again, hey, did you do this? Or I'll send them to my website if it's time for them to apply online, to try to use all the tools, all today's tools to be most efficient. And let me finish.
I love it. Are you?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just want to say that what I define success, what success to me is. I had a good friend who was a CPA, a very good referral source of mine, and he told me, Scott, he passed away, and he said, Scott, I've had lots of money, and I had no money, and I built it back out and have some money. I have clients with hundreds of millions of dollars, and I have clients who don't have a lot of money. Said, the most happy, my clients with the most money are not the happiest people that I know. The happiest people that I know are the people that are able to do what they want to do in their life and not having anxiety about doing it. And it's really all about balance. So it's, can you go coach your kids' soccer team Wednesdays at 4 o'clock and not be worried about it. Can you golf on a Friday morning with some of your realtor clients, not be worried that your business is not going to get taken care of. That's for me. That's the balance is a big part of the definition of success.
Love it. All right, so we crossed off a couple things there. So you talked about how you organize your day. I love that, and then also your definition of success. Who else here owns their day and can give some good examples to the group of how you're approaching your day, scheduling your day, so we can kind of have some exchange around that, whether you're trying to schedule out hour by hour, minute by minute, or say these are the 5 tasks I'm going to get done tomorrow, or whatever that time frame is. Who's willing to speak up? I've got no hands up, so if anyone wants to raise your hand or just start speaking, that'd be great. I can unmute you if you're muted. All right, we got to have a brave soul who's going to raise their hand. I'll hang on for just one more moment and see who's willing to jump in. If not, I know I can always call on Dave Savage, and he'll jump in and talk about. Dave, you're probably one of the most scheduled people I know. Obviously you have to live off your calendar for all of your commitments, but when it comes to planning out your day and being proactive, is that a challenge for you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think it's a challenge for everyone. I mean, I do time block things, although I mean it's a struggle, but I do start every week with certain things that I consider working in the business on my calendar, and I do have reoccurring events, so I try to focus on an area of the business every day of the week. I'll have a day where it's all about marketing, and I start my week with a marketing time block time for my strategic time. But do I do it all the time? No. Is it a struggle to stay on task? Yes. But I do. If something is not on my schedule, it doesn't happen. Whether it's personally or professionally, these calls that we do are on my schedule. Not just the call, but the preparation for it. So that's my story. Okay, I do want to make sure, Todd, I'm going to go ahead and kind of lock down the topics. Is there any other topics for today besides these 4? What are your vital few? What is success to you? Jam sessions, and how do others plan for the day? Do we want to add anything else before we spend the second half of the call just speaking to these 4 items? Any others, Todd?
I think that's probably all we're going to have time to cover anyway, and I think that's a pretty good one. I see, of course, Mark Thompson. I'm glad. See, I always know I can count on Mark to, when it quiets down, but I think those are great. But yeah, by all means, if someone else has something that's important, jump on, and we'll start the discussion around that.
So I just want to add a couple thoughts on that, and then I'll pass it back to you and the group. So it's funny, I try to do at least a half hour, if not an hour, whether it's reading, whether it's watching a video, whether it's a blog. Lately, I have found myself in podcasts a lot. But whatever it is, a half an hour to an hour every morning. And this morning, a friend of mine, Jason Womack, sent me a TED Talk that he did and asked me to check it out and share it. I was kind of debating whether I was going to share it. I'm like, I'll watch it and decide if I'm going to share it. But I think it was very on point for today's conversation because, the title of it was Rethinking Success and What is Success? And then he also had a couple takeaways that, I've heard similar comments, but, here are my personal notes from this morning's call. And, when I was listening to Jason, these were just the personal notes that I wrote down. But he talked about 3 questions to finish the day. And I'll let him tell it. If you watch the video, I'll let him tell the story. But I thought they were interesting because they also, I think almost asking these questions in a different way. It's a great way to start the day. But the way, when he's getting ready to wrap up his day, he's always like, what did I complete today? By the way, great question. You should always start the day with, what are the 3 most important things I need to do? He ends his day with, who helped me today? Really, getting you in a frame of mind of, It's not about you, it's about others, and setting up the whole gratitude. And he's like, what am I grateful for today? And that's how he ends his day. But I also think those three things fit nicely into you know, how to start your day. So I just wanted to share that thought because it was part of my morning routine, and I think it's kind of on point here.
Awesome. I love that. Who helped me today? That's what a great thing to look at that, and certainly at who you help as well. That's really cool. Awesome. So let's make sure we get Mark unmuted. So we've got most of you muted today. So as you guys raise your hand up, I'll make sure I continue to unmute you guys since the mics aren't all wide open. If anyone doesn't know how to do that, just make a note in the chat bar. And, but you should be able to go in there and hit the hand up button. Mark, welcome back. What do you have to say?
Well, I guess maybe it might be appropriate for us to kind of start circling back on the topics for today. And what I'd be really interested in is the exercise that we spoke about, which was your definition of success. And Dave, I appreciate that. I look forward to listening to Jason's talk on that. Because once again, for me, it always comes back to my why, which is helping others to feel safe and secure so that they can have the freedom to have fun and enjoy life. And I love that idea. But I was really working on trying to figure out how do I take that maybe to another level with my own success. And when I did this, it just kept coming back to my family, and it kept coming back into some of the times in my life when I'm feeling kind of the ultimate Mark, as my name is Mark, and I was just kind of wondering what other people experienced and what maybe the definition of success for other people are, if we could share that.
All right, love that. So who here would love to share their definition of success and join that topic of conversation?
Is back in Module 5.
Way back at well, for some people that's not way back. So some people are just getting there now. Anybody have some way to help out there? Poor Jen. Jen's been sitting there. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say I did post it in Facebook because I think it's a great question. So also, if you don't want to speak out or you're listening to this recording after the call, I think it's great that we share this. So anybody that just wants to comment in Facebook with your definition, there's a place to do it. But to Todd's point, Jen has not jumped in yet. Jen, you want to?
Yeah, Jen's sitting there quietly. I'm like, it's time. Let's get her on.
Well, I know. I've been sitting here really quietly, just kind of listening to everybody. I really appreciate what you have to say, Dave. About trying to put together some type of a schedule, so we can stay with it. I think that, what I'm hearing and listening to everybody with the vital few and trying to really figure out what is, our life's purpose and our success is that we have got to carve out the time to work on it constantly. It's just not one and done. And so I appreciate, Dave, that you say, I do my best to do it. And then I slip sometimes too, because I do too, and I know all of us do. We slip at being able to, carve out these time compressions and really, really work on them. And I'll bet Darren does too, because I don't think we're all perfect at doing this. And, as I'm sitting here listening, I'm just thinking, you can hear it in my voice. I'm a little like breathing heavy and stuff, saying, I have to go back to this module virtually every quarter. Or not this module, but this whole thing. I've been involved with Darren for now about 1.5 years. I literally have to go back to this every quarter to remind myself of the little things that slip through the cracks that are getting in the way or not getting in the way, but are preventing me from the gaps, right, that are preventing me from getting where I want to be. I call it a happy place. My husband always asks me every day, are you in your happy place? Because, they prevent from me. We get so involved in the minutia of everything that we have to do, and so important for us to step back. And we're doing, all of us that are on this call are now starting to, do our jam sessions, do our miracle morning, if you will, because we're talking about our plans. And we're getting in this routine, which is good. And they're right now, it's it's a routine, and the only way I can explain it is I'm a ballroom dancer. I'm a competitive ballroom dancer. When I first learn a new dance and new steps, I'm very thought-provoked about what I'm doing, but then eventually it becomes second nature. And for me, my challenge is making this second nature rather than forcing it into a specific schedule. And I have to do that. But I'm so looking forward to the time where this becomes second nature, and we aren't working so hard to make this happen. Does that make sense? Yeah. I know it probably didn't answer your specific question.
That's awesome.
You know, your specific question.
I love that you do ballroom dancing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey guys, by the way, this is interesting. So, you know, the guy I interviewed this Tuesday, super awesome, all about creating a trusted advisor culture. And I asked him a question, and he made this comment that it's all about the manager's will. You know, he used this term. I'd never heard management will before. But it just talked about, you know, management really jumping in from a leadership perspective and, you know, enforcing their will. And then, you know, when I think of the common themes of super successful people, I mean, yeah, we have processes. Sometimes we keep our commitments, sometimes we don't. But you know what, we all have this will of just always of winning, being the best. And we may fall off track, but the will and the energy lives on. So anyways, just listening to you there, Jen, I'm like, and one of the themes every time I've talked to you and every time I'm connected with you, you just have this will to be a teacher, this will to be a leader, and it never dies. And so even though you may, you know, have a day where you're kind of off point, it's your will to win and your will to lead that carries you through. So hey, it's just something to share, just listen to this conversation happen.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much.
Great feedback, Dave. Missed Danny last week. Oriani, he is back. So hey, Danny, how are you?
Hey, Todd, how's it going? Apologize, I missed you guys last week. Had a great event though with the Gaylord Hampton Shoe Foundation. So yeah, it was an awesome day. But I'm happy to share kind of on my side along these topics, if that's all right.
That would be great.
So as I was thinking through that module about success, I was trying to think about what my initial kind of I guess early thinking in my career was that I was going to make $1 million, right? And figure out how to do that and put all these things in place. So I was using the income, kind of the monetary side of things, as the scorekeeping metric. And as I was going through my mortgage why and realized that over the past few years I've transitioned away from kind of a personal goal over to a team goal, I was thinking, well, how can I translate my initial thought, of being a millionaire, right? Which is, I think, at some point in our 20s we all wake up and think that that's what we want to do and be. Was that now my goal is to have 10 people that are part of our team become millionaires and be able to facilitate that and grow myself and those people to the point where they can look back and say, yes, being part of this team got me there and 10 times. So that's kind of taking the original financial goal and then translating it into a team goal. And as far as the time blocking piece, this is something that Insane Productivity, probably the most valuable thing I've gotten out of it is just this idea that even if I'm blocking out the time and still getting interrupted and still getting derailed in my jam sessions, that just putting that time in my calendar and having people, my calendar shared with the entire team so they can see everything that's going on, just having that cadence of them looking, and basically they look at my calendar and it's just completely blocked off. So they know that if they want to get into the calendar, they have to look for one of the basically office hours time frames that I've plugged in, where they can put themselves in to do that. And it's not perfect. They still come and either knock on my door or come and say, have you got a minute? And I'm still not super disciplined about saying no, not right now. And even though in this I've learned that that's the best practice. But it's getting better, and every day it's getting better. And then I start seeing the other team members, without me even asking them to, starting to time block themselves more and be more purposeful about, well, I know I have to work up this file and income review, and it's going to be really complicated, so I'm going to block out an hour to do that so everybody knows what I'm up to. And then everybody sees that, and then they're more respectful of that time for that person so they can get through it faster. It's just this almost self-fulfilling prophecy. And out of that has come one of the probably the best team tools that we've developed out of the Insane Productivity Time Blocking, which is I was learning or seeing that I was getting frustrated because my day kept on getting derailed by people coming in with emergencies that, quote-unquote emergencies that really probably could have been solved either by them or by somebody else. And I think it was Jen a few weeks ago talked about, really challenging back those people to say, hey, have you thought of solutions, or have you talked to somebody else who might have a solution for you? So now we call that process, I started describing each person as a smoke detector. Like, you don't need to always have a fire. Like, either systematically through our software that we use or by the processes that we develop, there's ways for us to install smoke detectors so that we don't get fires. And I, was listening to the beginning of Module 10 where he talks about the plane, leaving LA going to LaGuardia, and if they're 1 degree off and you need these, you'll be 150 miles away from the destination, you need to have those feedback loops. And so now people are starting to, I guess, self-identify as the smoke detector being really where the value is, and then we have less fires, which means that there's more time to do real productive work. And again, it's like it's the flywheel from good to great really starting to spin.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So there was lots of gold there in case you guys missed that, right? I love the fact that you care more now about making 10 people on your team millionaires. I love the fact that your team is now time blocking. I love the fact that I love that concept of be the smoke detector, right? Install that in your file, because you're right. If you can pre-detect what the potential hurdles are going to be during that transaction, so that it doesn't become a fire, how awesome and how better off is your team. For your team then, in your quest to help them all become millionaires, what are the vital metrics that you're measuring on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis for your team members so that they know whether, or so you know whether they're on track and they know that as well?
So for myself, I measure how I'm spending my time. I do a lot of measurement of, lead flow and lead conversion, time spent at leverage events, and that's a tough mental transition for me, because I really enjoy, actually working in the office and, enjoy the time kind of behind the computer, jamming through everything. Yesterday, I spent 6 hours either at lunch and learns or happy hours, and just getting into the mental place that was productive time is a transition for me, but it definitely was. I'm not saying that it wasn't. It's just, relearning that. And then for the team, it's, basically making sure that they're, meeting their goals for on-time closings and locks for the week. And then we measure that on a weekly basis, and I visit with them every couple of weeks, mid-month, and then at the end of the month to talk about what their goals are for the next month and what they're going to do to make it happen. And it's usually, doing really tight feedback on contact. One of the mottos that we use in our office is if you didn't tell somebody that you did it, you didn't do it. And if the realtor calls 2 days later after you've been working on the gnarly file and they don't even know that you've been spending 12 hours trying to work up an income calculation, then you might as well not have done it at all, because you didn't get any credit for it, and actually it was probably a negative. So kind of tightening up that cadence is a big one. We're working a lot on trying to actually, and this is probably true of a lot of people on this call, I'm working mostly on kind of intuition and on a kind of a gut feeling as whether things are going well or not, rather than having a lot of true metrics that we can follow and look at, which I have a ton of data and just for some reason haven't figured out how to collect it all in a really actionable way. But from a gut perspective, that's, having those every 2-week meetings is a big piece as well.
Awesome. Appreciate that feedback. I think that's interesting. What about the rest of you? Who here is going by gut, as Danny's talking about, or who here has some vital metrics that they're actually measuring that they're willing to share with the group?
Hey, real quick, before anyone else goes, I'm going to jump in real quick. First of all, Danny, you gave so much wisdom in that, 5 minutes of insight. It just reminds me why I have interviewed you so many times, and super appreciate all the value you bring to Mortgage Coach. I did just post a link to all of Danny's videos in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. I'm not going to tell you which one to watch, although I will tell you the scripts call that I did with Danny 4 months ago with Jeremy Forcier has been the most highly rated and most watched interview of the year. So, by the way, thank you, brother. Get so much value. So, hey, Todd, I'll let you keep it rolling. I'll kind of back out and can't wait to hear more takeaways from everybody. But I just wanted to make sure I put that link in here.
That's awesome. That'll be part of my homework, so hopefully some of you will make that as well. How about you, Bliss? I see your hand up. What's going on?
Just wanted to share what I'm doing for team metrics, if we're still on that topic. Does that work?
Love it. Yes. Please.
Okay. So because I was super motivated to do this, what we measure improves, of course. And so I've created kind of a spreadsheet for my team, and we've got 4 categories. So we've got team metrics, which is basically loans closed, and then thank yous and testimonials. And so, for example, I went to a closing the other day and was so surprised. They actually had a gift for me and for my assistant and my processor because they had been so impressed with how well it had gone and their interactions with each of us. So that tells me it's working. So that's, to me, a great metric to watch. And then we individually have metrics. So my metrics are new credit pulls, realtor lunches, and then making my unsolicited outbound phone calls and texts. So that's me as the originator. Then my assistant slash production manager, she does a lot of helping me with marketing as well. So one of her metrics is social media increase. She gets a point for every 5 additional people that have either liked Facebook or Instagram. And then application to closing, like I mentioned earlier, we're not sure exactly how we're going to measure this because it's a little hard to define, but basically when loans get from application to closing and I have had less than 10% involvement in it, then she gets points for that. So that's the production manager. And then my processor, our goal is from processing to underwriting in less than 15 days. So that's one of her metrics. And then less than, I think we're going to put it as 3 conditions that come out. So prior to approval conditions. And then we're going to do it on a monthly basis. And we are setting a goal, a point goal, and then we're just going to have an incentive. We're going to make it fun. And so that's kind of what we're watching so that we're all trying to improve, but we're also going to be able to watch each other. And I'm hoping that really creates some great momentum for our team.
Wow.
Love it. Love it. So I think the couple of takeaways there that are great is number one is that not only are you're not just measuring on the sales side, you're measuring on the rest of your team, which I don't see too often. Normally I see people focusing on loan officer activities that are generating the business and not necessarily helping the rest of the team through. And I love the fact that you guys are going to do it together, monitor each other, and celebrate. I love that word momentum. Yeah. So did you have everyone on the team help you with that, or is that something that you
so
came
we've
up with
had
the
one
idea
meeting. Well, I kind of came up with the ideas after going through the insane productivity that I needed to do something, so I drafted it up, and then the 3 of us met last week to kind of just talk through it, and then we're going off-site for a day and a night in November to just do some business planning, and so we're going to fine-tune it and decide for sure at that point what we're doing. I wanted to give them time to kind of let it ruminate in their head and be thinking about it. I want it to be something that pushes them. You know, and to be honest with you, my processor's already getting stuff from processing to underwriting in less than 15 days, but I want us to watch it. I want us to track it because I can sell that all day long out on the street. And so I want to be able to say, hey, on average, we're getting stuff in to underwriting within 15 days of getting it into processing, or whatever that time frame might be. And so really having them do these things gives me more the ability to go out and market and have more information and more confidence in my team.
I think that's great. So you're taking something that happens, but now you're making it a measurable task that you can turn around and use as a unique selling proposition. That's genius. Love it. Does anybody? I'll look for some more hands. I'll kind of give you what my team measures. we found, and again, I love what Bliss did. I'm going to actually certainly help people outside of our loan officers with measurements, but for us it was those lead indicators. We always measured closings, which we thought was great, but what do we actually have to do as a team in order to get to those closings? And so we on a daily basis, every day 8:45, my team has ironically what's called a jam session. It was prior to Darren's me going through the same productivity, getting that terminology. And so my business partner is the one who now leads that jam session. But every day they go in there and they call out their vital metrics. So how many partner calls did they make? How many client calls did they make? How many quality conversations? So actually, how many people did they actually speak to that day? How many live meetings did they have? And then so that those are the things that they do that actually create the results. And then they also report in at that point how many leads did they receive, how many applications did they take, how many pre-approvals were issued, because in the Phoenix, Arizona market, there's a high bad credit, so we measure that part, and then lastly, if they got any contracts in. And so it's amazing because the leaders on the team have now gotten it down to the point where they know exactly how many phone calls they have to make to get a closed deal, and so that's what they're all focused on is how many times more do I need to pick up the phone today in order to make sure that I hit that goal, and overall they have some pretty big goals for next year, although we haven't dollarized it like Danny has. But I can tell you that although a couple of them have it based on their income, most of them have it based on the number of families that they help. So it's a great way to do it, to set up what are those activities that you're going to do. The book that I read that kind of comes from is 4DX. It's got a few authors, but one of them is Stephen Covey's son. And so, definitely an interesting book if you lead a team and you want to, kind of get a way to rally around that. And then the follow-up piece is just what Bliss and Danny both said. You have to meet on it, talk through it, and then celebrate it. So good to hear that. All right, so who else? Got time probably for one more person to jump in before we call it a day. Does anyone else want to volunteer? I can always, of course, have Jen come in and help me wrap up in a couple of minutes. What else do you have to add, Jen? Wait, I hear silence. All right, so last opportunity for someone else to raise it. Oh, there she is.
Yep, sorry about that. I was trying to keep quiet. I think if we're talking about,
I appreciate that.
to do that, the metrics, and the different measurements. I'm really impressed by what everybody has put together, and I think that's great. Ironically, Bliss, when you mentioned, the point system, I was reminded of a system that I used probably 20 years ago about a point system, and I'm thinking, okay, go look that one back up again and maybe introduce that to my team as well. I think for the planning your day, there's an old saying, plan your day. I'm sorry, there is no old saying because I can't remember what it is right now. It's so funny. I call it the driving Miss Daisy syndrome. That we have all good intentions of driving in today and doing this, and this, and if something derails us, and we get in the back of the seat and we let someone else drive us around all day long, and that ends up running our business. So rather than us driving our plan, we're letting our plan drive us, and that was the phrase I was trying to find out. So the fact that we're blocking off time emotionally, for a jam session really, really works for us. I would just encourage everyone to block off time, all the time. So for example, I have, what I do is I have Money Making Monday, I have Just Ask Tuesday, I have Wealth Building Wednesday, and I have Touching Base Thursday. And then Fridays are Blueprint days. I call those Blueprint days, so in my calendar it's blocked out all Blueprint, where because I've mentioned to you all before that I really don't work on Fridays. So really what I'm doing on Fridays is working on my business, so that I can knock that out in the morning and then have free time to do whatever I want, because I really do want to work and do work a 4-day week. But what I do on that fifth day is that I do Blueprint time. So Monday mornings are phone calls to real estate agents that I want to have relationships with, my top agents that I want to work with. Tuesdays on Just Ask Tuesdays, everyone on the team is asking for business from whomever we're speaking to, so that's just a drive that we have there. On Tuesdays, I'm also calling my prospects as well, but Wednesdays, wealth building, I call my financial planners. That's what the purpose of that is. And touching base on Thursday is for me to get in touch with my past clients to do annual reviews. And then, again, the blueprint day, which I'm working on my whole week for the next week, and assessing how this week went. Now, notice I didn't do any phone calls out to realtors or clients to check in with them, because I have a very sophisticated set it and forget it system that does that. So it reaches out. We reach out 71 times during a purchase transaction. Via email or phone call or whatever the case may be. So whatever my computer tells me to do is what I do in between times. So if it tells me that I need to call the borrower and say hi and check in and do, Scott, what you had said, and bless you said the warm fuzzy, all of that is happening on a regular basis, so I don't have to put it into a specific day of the week that I have to make all these phone calls and do all that. So I just wanted to share with you what mine looks like. And I reposted, by the way, Dave, I reposted my kind of a daily schedule. I had responded to someone else's post, that's why you didn't see it, but I reposted it last week, or 2 weeks ago, so that you guys could see that as well. So I think the key thing, what I'm trying to say, is that if you block off time to even have a meeting with a realtor, just block it off, that you're going to have a realtor meeting, you're going to be more in control of your business than your business is of you. Because you're not going to be so whimsically saying, yeah, I can meet you anytime. I've got Tuesday at 5 or I've got Wednesday at 1. Which one works best for you? Otherwise, we're going to have to go further out. And that's really creating the difference between being on demand and being in demand.
I love that concept, and I think that that's great. You heard Danny even talk about that when he talked about his time block, that he has office hours where his team can come and ask him questions. And so if you create those blocks, for next week and the week after, this is when I'm available for these activities, and those activities include things like client meetings. Those activities include your jam sessions. Again, you can't block all 8 hours of your day if you don't give yourself some of that white space where you can react and you can do some other activities that come up. I mean, even if you have a great smoke detector like Danny's team has installed, you're going to have fires. And so what I love about the conversations that we're having is that, I think that we all are, week by week, I'm hearing more and more of you talk about success stories. Week by week, I'm hearing more of you that have implemented little pieces there, and I still think we've got some great conversations that we can continue. I definitely don't think we nailed the vital few today as a group, so I definitely will make sure that next week we jump back in on that. I should throw a plug in there. Dave made a post in there. You'll see it in the Facebook of Jeremy Forcier. He interviewed him this last week. It was a great interview, and he kind of on his own had come up with, here's what he does, the 3 things he focuses on in a day. So I'll make sure that next week we come back in on that. I'd love to hear from more of you next week on those metrics, the things that you're measuring either for yourself or for team members. I think that there's a ton there for all of us to learn. And as we kind of go into these next modules, right? Some of you are getting to the core values that Darren has you identify. We spent a lot of time previously with the early group going over those. So as you guys are starting the 4, 5, 6 module crew, right? You're designing your life and you're coming up with those success statements. And then those of you in 10, 11, and maybe some of you will be getting into 12, right? You're getting to that massive transformation formula. So we've got a lot of great things on the horizon for us to talk about. There was another great call. I always love having interaction from new people, so thank all of you guys for jumping in and talking today. And in the meantime, if Dave, Jen, or myself can be of help, just let us know, and appreciate everyone today, and have a wonderful weekend and productive week next week. We'll talk to you then.
Thanks. Bye.